Hello and welcome to Three Questions With. Got Alex with us from Expense Reduction Analyst. Alex, welcome to the show, my friend.
Kevin, so grateful to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it on this hot Monday morning.
So tell us a little bit about what your company does, my friend.
Thank you. We're the longest serving and the largest contingency-based cost consulting company in the world. We've been at it for 26 years. We're based out of the United Kingdom. And we do contingency-based cost consulting for what we describe as middle market, not-for-profits, and manufacturers. And the way we work is we bring to bear experienced professionals who come to our consulting firm after careers in certain vertical markets. So you might bring a guy who's spent 35 years in the telecom industry, and he hangs up his spurs with ERA, and he becomes one of our go-to telecommunications experts. So if I'm lucky enough to get a client who's perhaps overspending on his or her cell phone program, I bring my telecommunications expert. He brings his 35 years of experience and helps negotiate better rates with perhaps his incumbent or a new coming provider. That's how we do it. And we bring to bear roughly 4 dozen cost categories, expertise in 4 dozen categories. Just as a recent example, last Wednesday afternoon, I participated in a Zoom conference. Every quarter, the team who does our ocean freight work, they're based out of Holland. So 2 Dutchmen did a 45-minute Zoom briefing on updating all of us across the world on what's the current status of ocean freight. And it's just an example of the kind of ability and expertise we bring to bear.
So Alex, as a former CFO, I love the concept. Because we were talking a little before the show, when I first got involved in the bank, the person who was doing a lot of our purchasing didn't understand that price is negotiable. If someone came in and said, this is the cost to rent a copier, he said, yes, brought it to the president, got it signed, then off they went. I got involved and like, geez, these prices seem kind of high. So I started going out and getting other bids, but worked out great, saved money. But the challenge, super time consuming. And I'm only going to companies I've heard of. So when you come in, you can obviously help people do that without all that legwork.
Well, that's exactly right. And you asked to describe what we do, and I told you our positioning. And generally speaking, our biggest successes are with what we call the middle market, $20 million in revenue on up. And the reason for that is, and we have much bigger global clients, but relatively few of those. And the reason is a middle market organization, to your point exactly, they just don't have the bench strength or the time to give to the cost side of the equation. And let's take this, companies coming out of this pandemic economy. Rule number one, if you haven't had a roaringly good time in these 18 months, rule number one is let's grow revenue. And yeah, it's important to manage cost, but the first order of business in any business is grow revenue. And so cost is never an urgent challenge. And so it's doubly difficult, therefore, for a middle market company who doesn't have expertise in cost or the time to get around to it. And we can cut right through it and do it very quickly with the expertise we have.
Yeah, like I said, that's super important, but I see your point. A lot of times we're just focusing on the revenue and not watching the cost, because as we've both seen in life, often you get into a company, you have a relationship with them, and if you're not paying attention, you're not catching those cost increase. And we all just dismiss it, Alex. It's like, it's a cost of living increase. 42% cost of living, Alex. I don't know where you live.
Well, Kevin, you're a crafty man. You got a lot of experience, but you're right. I mean, and truthfully, let's be fair. I said, if you get to the CFO level or you own an organization, you're a clever, hardworking, perceptive person, and they're generally aware, but they just it's too easy to kick the can down the road. And part of my job is to create the sense of urgency, to say, listen, there's a dripping faucet there, and that faucet that's dripping costs, it's dripping cash flow, EBITDA. Pull me in, very little intrusiveness, very little time on your part. I can help you turn that faucet off. It's not easy. It's not easy. Another thing I'd say too is, I used to tell the people that work for me, and I spent a lot of time in procurement in various industries, but I used to tell the people that work for me, I said, look, vendors they're not bad people. They're good people. The suppliers who work with you are good people. I said, but they don't wake up every day thinking, how am I going to save money for Alex? And so, like you said, right on, you got to be alert to their instinctive motivation to increase their margins. And it comes at an expense to you in terms of higher costs you need to be paying.
So Alex, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? How can they learn more?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. We have a very good expense reduction analysts US. We have a very good website. But what I like to do is I like to have face-to-face conversations, or in this time that we Zoom, it's fine. And what I really like to do is bring to bear some of our subject matter expertise. Pick a category, and to have people who have an interest, maybe who have some sense of humility that, yeah, you know what, maybe I could use a third party to help me look at my costs. And if someone tickles his or her fancy, I love to get on the phone or get a video conference, get a live meeting if I can, and bring a subject matter expert with me who can provide that credibility, that gravitas, that sense of, yeah, I've walked the factory floor for 35 years. I know the pain you're experiencing. Let's have a conversation to see if perhaps there's a nice match between what ERA can do and your needs. And you know what? Sometimes you find there isn't a match. Sometimes you find they got everything so buttoned up. Well, let's just shake hands and part company. Sure. But usually we find opportunity.
Awesome. Alex, I really appreciate taking a few minutes to call into the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thank you, Kevin, very much. Have a great week.
You too.